So I like things that are practical, and I found this funding was really practical. It was really easy. The whole process was really easy, from Chrissy describing it to me and explaining it to me, from us sounding out the ideas of what we needed to do for Tia and for our whole family. And actually it was really surprising that it was easy, because you come up against obstacles all the time when you're trying to access funding for your disabled child. The government just does not make it easy necessarily. So you go along to through the process of filling out the paperwork and all this kind of thing, and you end up just giving up because it's just all too hard.
As Mickey grew, his needs changed. So we went from needing a lot of things to help with his sensory, to then probably getting things to sort of settle him down a little bit and calm him back down. So we went from trampoline, necessary equipment, crash mats, all these things that were really essential for his benefit, because to this day he still can't sit still for too long. And then we moved on later on to look at things for dietary and encouraging to eat, because that was also essential. And again, when we got other funding, which we got with FAV, we then purchased some iPads, and the iPad was for both children, both boys, because again I have to keep the peace in the family, which is essential for us. And so, and the iPad taught Mickey so much more too, and also helps him keep him calm.
Having control of individual funding made me feel validated, actually, because I'd previously been told what was best for my child at that particular point in time, which didn't reflect what my aspirations were for our son. So it made me feel like actually someone cares and someone's interested in what I have to say, which just hadn't happened previously. It was pretty therapy focused, and it was obviously about using their block funding that they got as efficiently as possible, and not really taking into account what the family wanted or what the family needed. So it made me feel validated as a mother and as a contributor to the goals for my son.
Khi mà tôi đã được những cái tiền tài trợ đó, thì tôi cảm giác rất là mừng, vui, vì tôi có số tiền đó để giúp cho con tôi tiến bộ trong các mọi lĩnh vực bằng được các bạn như tuổi, nên tôi rất là mừng. Tôi đã có số tiền đó để tôi được sử dụng để cho con tôi học.
When I received those fundings, I feel very happy, because that's a chance for to pay for all the services and therapies for my son to develop better and to catch up with other typical kids at his age. And I'm very happy that I was able to use those fundings. She thinks it's great that she is able to make decisions. She's the one who decides what to use in the funding that she's received, and also most importantly, she has the control, the voice, and the choice.
I am Veronica's mom, and I know what my daughter needs. And with the individualizing funding, I just knew what I wanted, and I just came in partnership with a lot of people, a lot of suggestions, a lot of things all together and make a plan. But I worked it all myself, and I have to say I got what I wanted.
To have control of the funding for me meant that I could choose what was appropriate for Mickey and what he needed at that time for his needs. Okay, so because of his needs were so complex with the hypersensory issues, that's what we targeted. And again, his needs were eating, so having the control, I was able to target exactly what he needed.
The most exciting thing for me about the Plumtree individual funding was the fact that it was fairly holistic. So it really looked at us as a family, and instead of saying, you will do therapy here on this day because this is where we've got the money, it said, what do you really need? What does she need to grow and thrive, and what does your whole family need, in fact?
So when we moved to the Inner West and were referred to Plumtree, it was a very different experience for us. Prior to that, a lot of focus had been on trying to diagnose Henry and find out what the specific issues were so that we could target them. Whereas at Plumtree, it was a more relaxed and open environment. There was parents who were dealing with issues as well. There were children here, parents here, speech, OT, and it was really a more holistic view of the children and of Henry, and it was really helped open our eyes in a more positive way to what disability was and how we could work with it.
To have control of funding for me means that I can have more choices at what I can use able to use to help Mickey. Okay, my whole focus has been how to help Mickey, but also to help the other children as well, so they don't feel left out.
So I found that the idea of being able to use the funding for time with my husband was a wonderful thing, because I had only just been through breast cancer myself and the chemotherapy and the radiation treatment. So time together was very lacking, and for me, you know, that would be wonderful to be able to use that money so that we could just reconnect again. And because that's definitely at the bottom of the list. You know, you've got your special needs child, you've got your older child with all of her things that are going on and activities. You've got the husband, and he has his own business, so he's very caught up in his own business. And then you've got me, busy, off to treatment. So to have a little bit of respite from our disabled child and have some time together was wonderful. To have a bit of respite from our disabled child and have some time with our older daughter would be wonderful. And then once again, to have a trampoline so that my two daughters could play together. Like, it all just helps the whole family dynamic. And you forget just how important that is.
I think when I talk to other families like me, the best tip I can give to them to use the funding they get, individualized funding they get, is talk to their occupational therapist or speech therapist or doctors wherever they're visiting, because they can provide you the best advice about what your child need now. And sometimes you can also figure out what my child's needs are, what my child's love to play. For my child loves to play swinging. He loves to swinging, and I buy a horse that swings with him, and he was really happy with that, and he's still playing at least once a day, that one. So yeah, it's a great thing to talk to the other professional who you are visiting. Yeah, I think so.
So the way we made the decision in what to purchase with the funding, Joe, my husband, and I talked a lot about it at home, and we know Sebastian and Sophia like to spend a lot of time outside, but our backyard has no shade whatsoever. It's right under the flight path as well, and sometimes the planes look like they're coming on top of your house, and Sebastian sort of freezes and gets a little bit wary. But they love being outdoors and in the little splash pools and sand pits. So we thought, well, you know, we really need something outside for them, but it was just, you know, a little bit out of realm of what we probably would have kept putting it off until we needed to. But with the funding, we were able to buy a large marquee which covers pretty much the whole backyard. So yes, it's a small backyard, so it's not that big, but yeah, it covers most of the backyard. So we know summer's going to be really hot, but outside is really the only time that Sebastian is at peace and he can sort of do what he wants. He loves to dig, so we always have sand pits and things around, and some dirt and mud and water play, and that's where he feels most calm. And Sophia loves it as well, so we thought it benefits both of them, but obviously it is beneficial for Sebastian.
The tips for the families who are yet to receive this funding or are going to receive this funding in future, maybe that they need to sit down and make a plan and think about how best to spend this money or funding. I can suggest that they should have a pen and paper and they should jot down the needs and interest of their children. That's important because this is an investment in their future. Yeah? So what you can do, you can sit down and think about what your child likes and what your child would benefit from. So if your child has a sensory need, think about the equipment or the toys, etc., that you may buy so that this will help your child. And let's say if your child likes to go out and is highly energetic, then you will want to buy equipment such as a swing or a trampoline, etc. So basically it depends on the requirement and the interest of your child. Yeah? So you will need to be able to assess that, which I'm sure you will be able to do because you are the parents of the child. You need to be able to do that. Assess the requirements of your child, not only the requirements but also the interests of the child, and then jot down what it is that they would benefit from the most. Yeah? And also think in terms of access to community. How would these services and the resources help them achieve access to community or transition to school or to anywhere else?
So speaking to other parents now, after using individual funding for the first time, it's actually, it's kind of exciting when you suddenly realise you've got this funding that you can use for anything for your family from a holistic perspective. So if I had my time again, I would have had the chance to maybe think about all those things that are important to us as a family and what's going to help us moving forward. Not just what's going to help my disabled child, as in therapies and different things for her, but what's going to help our whole family moving forward into the next year, into the next season of our life. And my advice would be definitely start making a list of what it is that is important for your child. So if you're seeing certain strengths in your child, perhaps just make a little list of what those strengths are, and then you could do a bit of research into how we can grow those strengths, and perhaps we can put the funding into that. Like I would, if my daughter was a little older and she was definitely interested in art, then perhaps some art classes or something that she just wouldn't be able to get ordinarily because it's just not on our budget. Something like from her physical perspective, the trampoline was a big deal for us because that would be time for her, not only with her sister, having sibling time, but all of the friends that come to our house to play with her sister, because my daughter doesn't necessarily have her own set of friends being disabled, but she does play with her sister's friends, and that's an activity that they can all do together. So it's really thinking about her social needs, and as well as her physical needs or her intellectual needs, but it's also thinking about the family needs. So perhaps going on a holiday together, using the money just to get away for the weekend and have some time together, because that's rare when you are a family with a special needs child.
The Vietnamese family group, the Vietnamese social worker Isabel said to me, another major master, they have a workshop talk about the running project, and I come there, and the Isabel, Vietnamese social worker, translate for me, and I'm more clear about how to make the plan, how to fill in the form, and they give me some idea to make the more successful application. Yeah.
One of the biggest positives I've found about Plumtree is this approach that they take to not just individualised planning and an individualised funding, but the whole family-centred approach, because we had come from another service where, because Alfie was about to turn 2, he automatically lost access to his physio, because they decided that from 2 years old it was more beneficial for them to be in a group setting with other kids and working on a variety of activities, but you know, sitting at the table doing puzzles, going outside doing a bit of gross motor work. But our goal as a family was we really wanted Alfie to walk, and so it didn't sit well with me that we were being told what we had to do with the funding that I knew we'd been provisionally allocated. And then I came to Plumtree and met Silvana, who, you know, all of this individualised funding is, it sounds like it's all new now that we're transitioning to the NDIS, but Silvana has been doing it for years and understands that, and it trickles down through the organisation, that it's not what the service decides for your family. It's about working together to identify the goals that you have as a family for your child, and then providing the supports around that. So at the time, Pathways didn't have a physio, but individualised funding meant that you could go and purchase that service privately if that was what was really important to you. And for some reason, I did have this thing that I wanted him to walk by the time he was 2, and yeah, and anyway, we did really intensive physio for a while, and he did walk, like only about 12 days before he turned 2, but on Mother's Day in May, so yeah, and you know, and I'm always really happy to take advice from experts, but you know, we do live with our children and we know them best and what the actual needs of our family are. So that is one thing that I think Plumtree does amazingly well.